Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Will Torres, the founder of WillSpace, and I'm here in our studio in New York City. We're gonna cover something to think about when you're trying to improve your posture. We did a series prior to this one where we discussed posture and how the shoulders affect that. So how to improve your posture through a few shoulder exercises. Today we're gonna talk about how do you improve your posture but working on the hips. When you're sitting down at a desk for long periods of time, what starts happening is the hip flexors are not doing anything and the quads are not doing anything other than getting tighter and getting shorter. And over time what happens is that they actually get so tight that they start to pull you forward. So when people think about stretching, their go-tos tend to be the hamstrings, which are important. It's an easy stretch, it's an easy go-to. But what's just as important, or maybe even more because it's so neglected, it's the hip flexors and the quads. So today we're gonna dive into a movement called the split squat. Everyone knows it, you've probably done it at some point, but I'm gonna really dive into it and dissect it for you so that you get the most out of it. In the split squat, the front leg is doing a squat, but I'm also using this move for the back leg to load or do a loaded stretch for the hip flexor. So as I lower into this movement and my body is upright, not leaning forward, I'm actively loading that hip flexor and quad and then come back up. So that's more effective than just going to a wall and pulling your foot like this and holding it for 10 to 15 seconds. So we're gonna get deeper into the hip and into the muscles by making the movement active so that it's not passive. I'm not just passively holding a stretch. And then secondly, by loading it first with body weight and then eventually with dumbbells and then one day with a barbell, we are making that hip not just mobile, but incredibly strong. We call it strength mobility. All right, so let's go into the setup for the split squat. So what you want is your front foot's pointed forward, your back foot is about 2 to 3 feet away from the front foot. For this position, you want to drop the back knee and then simultaneously allow the front knee to go forward. So you want that front knee to go over or past the big toe. Then to come up, you straighten both legs to the top. And then again, you're gonna drop that back knee. Simultaneously, the front knee goes forward and the torso is upright because we're trying to create that stretch in that hip flexor. So if I do this, now I'm running from the stretch. Boom, here, now I have it. And then all the way up. When you do it, the goal is not to touch the floor. The goal is to get close to the floor, but you really don't want to be bouncing off the floor. Now, in the beginning, when you do this, what's gonna happen is, number one, I want you to do it barefoot, and if possible, do it in front of the mirror. What's gonna happen in the beginning is, number one, you're gonna be all off balance. If you haven't been working on this, generally, the weakest part of this is gonna be the feet. The weak link will be the feet. And people will say, oh, but I'm not balanced. Well, this is another way to begin to work on your balance. So the key when you're doing it is this. The front foot, that big toe has to stay down. Once that big toe goes up, you're gonna lose your balance. So keep the big toe down. Also, for some of you, when you go down, that front knee is gonna wanna turn in. So what you wanna do is keep the knee over your second and third toe. And then use that front foot to push yourself back up. The other fault that happens is when people do it, they go down and then they push themselves back really fast. That alone, you see how my foot came up and then now I have too much weight on the back leg. So I want both feet here to be active. So my front foot's planted, my back foot is planted. The feet are gonna be wobbly, so you're just gonna have to deal with that and stay calm. You lower that back knee, front foot goes forward, and then to come up, you go up and down like a horse on a carousel. You raise yourself back up. and then down, that front knee goes forward again. I do not recommend adding weight to this movement until you have developed some strength in the feet and you're more stable, number one. And then number two, until you've developed some depth in the movement, right? So one of the other things that we like to do is elevate the front foot. In essence, the split squat is a squat. So if I were to do a squat, and this is my full range of a squat. So my butt is down, my hamstrings are touching my calves, and I'm upright. So with the split squat, I want to replicate that same squat position, but in the front leg. So if my back hip flexor is tight, which if you haven't worked on this, it's going to be, when you go down, I'm going to put my knee on the floor just to show you, but my hamstring is nowhere near my calf. So I have a lot more range to go there. So what I can do is elevate the front foot so that when I go down, now I can get deeper into this front leg, but also deeper into this hip flexor. Once you can do about 5 to 8 reps of this for 3 sets with body weight, then I recommend you start loading it. Start light with 5 pounds in each hand, and then you can start slowly building up from there. If you don't have a 45 and you're doing this at home, you can use a few books, bigger books, so that you can get your whole foot on it and it should be very sturdy. But I also recommend trying to find a step, the first step from a stairwell that you can do this on. Initially, you can do this 2 to 4 times a week. Try to do it every other day and just go easy, 2 to 3 sets of 5 reps. As you get stronger and it becomes more demanding because you're starting to use weight, then you want to do it about 2 to 3 times a week, every 48 to 72 hours. So every 2 to 3 days. Now at that point, you've gotten very strong. You can lift 25 to 50% of your body weight. So now you're gonna have to use a barbell. The goal is the same thing, that back knee. Now the back leg is gonna extend back, but that front knee shoots forward and you're trying to get as low as you can. We call this the ass to grass split squat, where you really want that hamstring, that front hamstring, to get as low as you can and touch that calf. And straighten both legs and then again. So that's the split squat, at least how we approach it here at WillSpace. As you can see, there's a lot that goes into it, and you get the biggest bang for your buck by exploring the split squat in this way. So take off your shoes, find a step, find a mirror, start working on it, and let us know how you're doing.